pulling out the jacket cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get about your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot and I can't be beat. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out.
Hello, everyone. How are we all doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. Looking forward to today?
Yeah, very much so. Thanks for having us on.
That's all right. I'm going to give you only a light grilling today. Don't worry.
Excellent.
So just to warn everyone to start with, Spencer's not been great this week. He's got a bit of a croaky voice. So I'll be leading today. So Spencer will chip in at various points, but give him a bit of sympathy. He's not feeling great, but he's still here fighting the good fight. So episode 56, Alex Holliman's here from Climbing Trees. Just wanted to say really as well, personal thanks from Spencer and I that, just to a few people, the show couldn't happen without the help of, support and others. Firstly, Forecast, who are a market leading project management software system. We recently welcomed into the community as a sponsor. So they support Agencynomics, our not-for-profit social enterprise, and our podcast show, Agencyphonics. We've had great feedback from them so far, and most people that use Forecast have, cut their admin in half around their project management, which has been great to hear, and they've been fantastic support to us over the years. And Caitlin and Dan behind the scenes make this all happen as well. So thanks to them. So Alex, first question. The first question I always like to kind of start with is, and it's something that we surveyed in the community once. It was, how many people were in agencies before they started their own agency? And the number was pretty low. It was like 40-something%. Most people did something else. So what's your background? How did you get into agency life?
So, and I'm always surprised by that. So I've spent my entire career working in agencies. And so the first job I had...
You're in the minority then.
Yeah, the first job I had was in an agency. And I left school and I had 3 interviews. One was at Billingsgate Meat Market, one was at an insurance company, and one was at a media agency. And
a nice eclectic mix there of opportunity. I like that.
And it was in the day when you got the Evening Standard, they had little text ads for recruitment and that kind of stuff. And so I had 3 interviews, and the meat industry's loss is the agency's industry's gain. And so I got a job working at a subsidiary of Saatchi & Saatchi in 93, I think it was, Zenith Media, who are the largest media agency in the UK at the time. And I had...
So not Zenith Windows?
Not Zenith Windows.
Okay, Zenith Media.
And I had the most junior job in the agency. So I think I got paid £7,000 a year. I had to pay £2,100 to get there on the train. I could have got more working in the supermarket, I'm sure. But the job I had was I would get a newspaper, and then I'd look for our client's ad, British Airways or the Central Office of Information. I'd check the ad, measure it, make sure it's the right size, check the reproduction, and then log it in the system. And I thought at that point, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I've really got to work hard to try and get out of here. So I went.
That's a great job.
Absolutely. And I was only doing that for about 6 months. And then over the next sort of 10 years, I went on to work for 3 of the top 5 media agencies in the UK. And I was given a break at a fantastic company on the media planning and buying side of things.
Yeah.
And then I went on to plan and buy press, radio and TV campaigns for guys like Lloyd's, Waitrose, London Zoo, Amnesty International. And it was all at quite a sort of junior level for me. And I think alongside that, so this was the 90s, alongside that, so professionally, that's what was going on. Personally, the 90s, you had some good music. Culturally, you had like quite a vibrant art scene. It was coming home in 96 with European finals. And so there was quite a rich vein of sort of partying that went on. And so the two things sort of went hand in hand in terms of work was there, but the partying was also there. And working in the advertising industry in the 90s, I partied quite hard. And that went on to a point where at some point it sort of turned from being something that was a little bit of fun to actually it was a big problem for me. And so
yeah,
I came out of London in about, I think it was 2001. And I got back in touch with my folks. They gave me a lot of support, and I basically had to quit drinking. And so that has been over 20 years now. I had to take everything.
Well done.
Thank you. I wasn't the kind of person that I wanted to be. I was a horrible person at that point, and I was messing up personally, in relationships, with friends, at work. And I had to take a long, hard look at myself. And with a lot of support from my parents and my sister, and then also a self-help group, which I sort of still go to, and I try and look after other people there now, I had to rebuild things from day one. Professionally, at that point, I landed on my feet, and there was a guy that had just started a media agency in Shenfield High Street. And I'd gone from I was working at Mindshare, part of the WPP group, in 99, 2000, I think.
Yeah.
Number 40 The Strand, big glass front. They had a like marble staircase that led up from reception up to the company bar, which I enjoyed. And I'd gone from that to working in Shenfield High Street in a garage. I had a desk literally under a skylight. I was the fourth member of the team. And I was just like, wow, what's going on? But that company, I worked alongside the owner, who was a fantastic entrepreneur, and he grew that business to, I think, got to 60, 70 people, 50 million turnover business. And I learned a whole load of stuff. And he gave us a break and almost got out of my way. And when I started there, it was around the time of new media. So people were talking about traditional media was fragmenting.
Like in the early 2000s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And newspaper readerships were going down, readerships were going down. There was more and more TV stations, and then the internet was happening. So I did a web applications development course at university in my spare time, and I learned how to do HTML and CSS in about 2003, I think. And I can build really horrible looking broken websites that don't work. If ever you want one, you know where to come. But I think
you heard it here, folks.
I've got a side.
Got a horrible website. Call Alex.
But through that, I got into I set up about 10 to 15 affiliate websites, selling all range of stuff through affiliate campaigns. And then I set up an online marketing division for this guy, and I ran that for about 6-7 years, working on a lot of retail clients, managing Google Ads, SEO, affiliate marketing, and then really just sort of took things on from there.
No, that's brilliant. So you said, I mean, it sounds to me like just listening to the story there, starting in someone's garage with being the fourth person sounds like at the time you were probably, as you said, thinking, what have I done? What am I doing? But it sounded like it was a great opportunity. Do you think working with that entrepreneurial character, working alongside them, kind of rubbed off a little bit, and kind of thought about running your own agency from that point?
I think you pick up stuff from people that you surround yourselves with, and he, I think, based on how I was at the time, I wouldn't employ myself, and he managed to sort of tolerate me and give me a sort of some space to sort of find my feet and that kind of stuff. And I've always been fairly I've tried to be quite upfront with people about the problems that I've had in the past, and so I think working alongside that kind of person, it was a very different mindset to working alongside big agency people, where there's a different approach to stuff. And so he could find opportunity in pretty much anything, and did, and is a phenomenally successful individual. And so, I think it definitely sort of helped me sort of find a sort of better path in life.
Yeah. So your agency now, Climbing Trees.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So I'd worked for this guy for about 9 years, and I didn't want to go back to working in London. So I obviously had to make quite a few changes. People I hung out with, what I did in my spare time, where I worked, that kind of thing. And so I was bemoaning lack of sort of opportunity locally in Essex. And the girlfriend that I was with suggested I just start up on my own, and I didn't really have the confidence to do it myself. It was like no great sort of entrepreneurial sort of endeavor or anything like that. And I think I thought about it for a while, and I got introduced to a lady that owned a PR agency up here in North Essex, who had 2 clients that needed someone to do SEO. And so I took a week off work and I pitched to both these clients and I got them both. And then I went back into work on the Monday and I sort of handed in my notice, and then my employer gave us some freelance work. And so climbing trees was started in 2010. And so it's like I got in a car at that time with no destination in the sat nav and just went off and started driving.
Yeah, yeah. So your intention at the time, was it to have more of a lifestyle business, a bit more control over your own destiny, or did you want to build an agency? Had you worked out you wanted to build an agency at that point and employ people?
Absolutely not. I just wanted the plan was, the big vision that I sort of ideated and sort of really brought to life was I wanted 5 days work. And so within about 3 months, I'd sort of achieved that. And that was it.
Yeah.
Sort of why. And I think that's a big mistake that I made, not actually setting a bigger vision. But then also, I didn't know it was possible. When I wanted to get 5 days work, I didn't know whether I could do it or not.
Yeah. I think what you're saying to me is fairly common with a lot of the people we talk to in similar situation. And we're actually doing a new mastermind group called Freelance to Founder for people who want to take the next step up. So from my perspective, I'm interested to hear about the kind of next part of the journey, which was obviously you'd won enough work to work 5 days a week and earn a living. And then obviously there was then a point where it kind of shifted and you thought, I need to start taking people on now. So was that a conscious kind of decision, or was it almost forced upon you with the amount of work coming in, or, you know, what was the approach? Yeah.
And I think I think I made mistakes. So it wasn't a conscious thing. So what I wanted to do, I think I felt very nervous about the responsibility of taking on staff, having to meet payroll and having that kind of, is it pressure? But it's a responsibility, isn't it? I don't want to go down and them not being able to pay their mortgage and that kind of thing. So I fudged the issue and went a bit half-hearted. And so for a period of time, I worked with a whole cohort of other freelancers.
Yeah.
I think the thing that drove me to then actually push things forward and actually start building things properly was with freelancers. You got 3 or 4 freelancers working together. Each one's king of their own castle. They're all going in different directions. There's maybe not the unity and the cohesion that there needs to be. And so I think after being a little bit frustrated with how that was going, it was then like, right, need to build out the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was the first hire?
So the first hire that I had was someone that I'd worked with previously. That she was an old colleague of mine. And she had a young family, and I said to her, well, tell me what hours you want to work. So I gave her a blank sheet of paper. She told me the hours she wanted to work, and then she came on board. And that's when we started building up at the very early sort of momentum and sort of positive inertia.
Yeah. So how long ago was that in terms of, because the agency was going, 10 years, did you say?
Yeah, so it's coming up for 11 now.
Yeah.
Or was it 12? No, it's 12. It's 2022, isn't it? Yeah, so it's 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it just scrapes in.
And so, so this was probably after about 3 years, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So sort of 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
And your team size now is how big? How many are in the team? So
there's 12 of us currently, and we're interviewing at the moment for lucky number 13.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's a great story. I'm always fascinated to hear how people got to where they got to, and appreciate you being candid about the past as well. I think that's helpful to a lot of people. What I want to talk about now is I'm going to rate. You might be a little bit embarrassed by this, be raising it, but we obviously advertised on LinkedIn that we were doing the podcast show with you today, and I don't think we've ever had so many lovely comments about a guest coming on. Like, I actually joked on there and said it was the Alex Holliman a fan club or appreciation show or something like that. But I think what comes across is,
if you hit the comments, you'll see there's already a couple in there as well.
Are they?
Even more love coming in for you, Alex.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. But I think that comes down to a decision that you made. I mean, maybe I'm putting words into your mouth here, I don't know, but you made a more conscious decision to kind of step up and be more visible in the agency community a while ago. And I think that was probably, I remember talking to you about this, was probably around might try to create more partnerships and drive more opportunities with other agencies potentially. So just talk to me a little bit about the decision process behind that, and the kind of benefits you've had from that work that you've done.
Yeah, so I think when I was working for my previous employer, I worked there for 9 years, and he flew below radar. So he had like 50 million pounds worth of billings, and he didn't want a large agency, network agency up in London, seeing what he was doing, just trying to come and hoover the client. So we flew below radar. So when I set up, I picked that up, and I was a technical founder, so great at doing SEO, great if I do say so myself, great at doing SEO, and so I had to noodle away doing that technical stuff. And so I think the first time I spoke to Spencer was about how to try and unpick that sort of Gordian knot of, I've got this stuff from the past. I prefer to be quite authentic about who I am, but then it's how to do that in a way where actually it doesn't overshadow what we're doing here as a business. And I know that there's quite I think when I was running into some troubles at the time, there weren't a lot of people talking about stuff like mental health issues, problems with like boozing or partying too much and that kind of stuff. And I think as you get older, I probably care a little bit less about what people think. I'm probably a little bit more confident in myself. But then also I do sort of think that actually it is more commonplace to talk about these issues. And so to have someone that's potentially visible in the community that has had some quite significant problems, been able to then deal with them and then actually sort of push on in life. And I haven't sort of achieved like massive sort of success or anything, but for me, if I compare myself to where I was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or last year, I'm doing great. I've got a lot to be grateful for. And so I think
and I think this is why people, there's a lot of love for you, because you're very humble about what you've achieved and what you've done.
And I think through conversations like this, and then conversations I've had with other agency owners, you get inspiration like vicariously. You almost pick it up through like osmosis. It just all sort of seeps in and sinks in. And I think speaking to other agency owners inspires me to try and do better for our clients, for the team, and then outwardly in sort of other areas that we touch as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. And you've also, I think, been on a journey more recently to become a more purpose-driven as an agency. Tell us a bit more about that.
So one of the things that I did was there's something that I do. So like Tom Hanks films, right? When Tom Hanks was really popular, right? Everyone loved Tom Hanks. So what I did was I didn't like Tom Hanks. I didn't watch any films. And then about 5-10 years later, I started watching some Tom Hanks films. I thought, these are great. And so I did that.
What's your favourite Tom Hanks film?
Castaway, I think, is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And so I went from a
surely, hang on a minute. Surely it's got to be Big.
Or Splash.
I don't know that I've seen Splash.
A very early one. Sorry, we're digressing here. Welcome to film night.
Very normal. And I think what I'm saying is, with the whole sort of personal branding thing and presence on LinkedIn, I had avoided it, and I'd flown below radar, and those things had sort of coupled, and I'd almost just like seized up, and I was unable to know what to do. So I spoke to a number of people, and I really clicked with the guys at Jago. So I spoke to Ryan and Steve, and then after a period of time, I took almost a leap of faith in terms of doing a project with them, where they actually worked out, they did this sort of analysis of my favorite subject, me, and they go through, this is what I like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and a lot of it is reflected back to me. But I think when I think about who I am and when I talk about who I actually am is sometimes can be a little bit different. And so having that presented back to me, it's almost then set a benchmark for what the opportunity is if I truly believe in myself. Because I think having it presented back to me, it's the undeniable truth almost. And so I think the purpose-driven thing came from that and was born from that, because I think I had We'd always done work for charities. We do some work for local charities free of charge, which as a commercial decision is terrible, but as a purpose-led sort of thing is actually quite a nice thing to do. And so I've always done that.
Great.
But I think as an origin, that was the genesis of a starting point in terms of actually, well, what can we do as a business? Because I think we can all agree that there are things in the world, whether it's climate or society, that need improving. I don't think we can wait for big business or government to actually do it for us. And I think as a business owner, I look at my personal life, I can change that. As a business, I can then actually change that. And I think that decision tipped me to the point where actually going through everything at Climbing Trees to actually almost forensically analyze how we've been doing stuff and can we do that better. And that's all very much work in progress. So we're not perfect.
No, I think that's fair to say, isn't it? No one is, but by starting, the first, what's the phrase? The first step on a journey is the hardest, right? So, you're definitely going down the right path with these things. So, in terms of just going back to the work you did with Jago, because I've been through a similar kind of process myself. What do you think the kind of the key takeaways were from going through that process and understanding a bit more about yourself? Was there anything really enlightening or life-changing coming out of it?
I don't. In terms of life-changing, I'm not too sure about that. But I think in terms of it was how to marry personal belief with business vision and then to move into action. And so I think the whole process was one where I had real clarity in terms of this is a direction I can go off in. And then it gave me the actual almost technical skills to actually step over the line and have a go. And so
it built a bit more confidence then, you think, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because there's sort of a continual sort of level of, there's like a feedback loop that you go through where you're looking at what's working, what isn't working, how things are going. And I think for me, it's almost, I guess because of where I've come from, I have a real passion for self-realization. So what I want to do is to almost become the best version of me that I can be. I want my little business to be the best version of it that it can be. I want to try and make sure that the staff, we support them and encourage them to get the most out of their time here. So when they do a tour of duty with the good ship Climbing Trees, they look back on that. I think they did some really impactful, meaningful work that's actually contributed to them really pushing on in life. And then I think about that kind of stuff for society as well, because we can have a tremendous impact with the charities that we work with the staff. And then in terms of doing stuff like we've made a significant amount of changes to try and reduce our carbon footprint and that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of opportunity where we can improve and do much better, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like that. So that you went on, so you made the conscious decision to become a bit more purpose-driven as an agency, and you were kind of trying to maybe step up and inspire other people in the agency community, your kind of peers. And this kind of then took you down a path where you, I think it's fair to say you won a pretty impressive piece of new business out of this process. And, that's not the main aim for what you do. It's more than just about growing the agency and winning great clients. But I think you've got a great story around this. I think it should be told.
Absolutely. And I think for us, we got in, so we look after, so I've got a good friend, Kelly at Rubber Cheese, who introduced us to a client of hers, National Children's Museum up in Halifax, Eureka. And we look after their Good Lads grant. And Greenpeace were looking for help with their Good Lads grant, and we got our hat thrown into the ring by someone else. And we got sent a 2-page tender document from Greenpeace, and we had 5 days to respond, 2-page response, and that was what we could do. There was a, in terms of the qual score on that, it's going to be terrible. But we threw everything at trying to distill what we could do into that 2-page document. And then we had to get in on the Monday, and I was out walking the dogs, and I was thinking about the stuff I was doing with Jago in terms of videos. And so what we did is I wrote a script in terms of 2-minute script in who we are as a company, changes we're making, what we're trying to do for ourselves to actually become a better business, a more sort of environmentally friendly and aware and purpose-driven business. And I just recorded it, hosted it privately on YouTube, and then sent it in with the 2-page pitch document. So I think they got 5 responses. They got ours, and I don't know whether that contributed to it, but I feel like it did, because I think before they spoke to us on that first call, they would have had a feeling about who I am and what we're standing for.
And what was it? What was in the contents? I ask him just as it freezes.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Spencer.
So what did you put in the content you sent to them?
I think it was basically, we really want to work with you. Here are the reasons why we really want to work with you. This is what we're doing, and this is our vision for our little business here. And so I think that would have then impacted the 2 sort of team members over at Greenpeace that we sent it to.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And how's it been going with them?
So fantastically well. So in terms of the utilization of their budget, we've done a whole load of things where we supported them with their COP26 campaign.
Yeah,
that's going really, really well. We've then we get on really well with our main point of contact there. We've done a webinar with them, and so we've never entered any agency awards, so we're not an award-winning agency, but we're planning on, based on our work with Greenpeace. So those wheels are in motion for 2022. Yeah,
no, I like that. That's good. Well done on that. I mean, I've always loved that story. I think it's just, for you, just a moment of genius to, out walking the dogs, moment of clarity. Just go, do you know what? I'm going to write a little script and send him a video. I just think it's absolutely superb. And I think the confidence to do that, has, definitely come from the work you've done on yourself over the last few years. So yeah, well done again.
And I also think it's something that whenever we get a pitch or brief document, if you answer that brief, if you're up against 2 or 3 other agencies and they answer that brief, you're all at the same level. And it's what we try and do as an agency is come up with ways that we can actually add value and come up with ideas that aren't necessarily included in the brief, because I think that will be the main point of differentiation in a really sort of competitive marketplace.
Yeah, no, I really like that.
I think that, sorry, Pete, I'll try and squawk something out. I think it's really worth everyone listening understanding that, I think, Alex, when we first spoke, I remember I was out on one of my long walks in the morning, and I think Kelly had told you to introduce us. And I think from where you were that day in terms of, your outward focus, your confidence, everything. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a greater transformation, if I'm honest, in all the years I've worked of an individual. So I think you're a true inspiration. I think it's lovely seeing the comments coming in from everybody, but I think everyone should be inspired by the fact that, you have gone from that position to someone who, I'm sure it's never easy to do these things. It's still not easy for most of us who are good at doing it. We still lack confidence, but you are an inspiration to everyone to say, no matter who you are, if you've ever struggled to maybe, be able to create any sort of external content, you're the world's best kept secret as an agency, that actually there are some small steps that we can all take to try and go on that journey. And I think you reached out for help, you found someone who could help you and support you, and then you've taken that and you've shown a global brand, why you want to work with them on video, which is just, is a long way from where the Alex I first spoke to on that walk, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And I think it is through almost, if you recognize you have a problem and then you bring it out into the open and you talk about it, you can then do something about it. And the guys at Jago have given very clear direction about these are the kind of things that you can do. So then for me, it's just about, I was always taught you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and so you should use them in that sort of proportion. So I've done much more listening, and then I've just got on with it. I've just had a go.
Well,
done.
long may that continue, because I think you're doing a great job. So one of the things I want to kind of move on to now, and we were chatting about this before the show went live, was I think you mentioned something about reporting on your clients' views on ethical and sustainability matters. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, sort of. So I think so there's some ethical and sustainable agencies that I really admire. So like Joss at Enviro, for example.
Yeah.
Admire what he's doing. The guys at Whole Grain Digital or Studio Republic down in Winchester. These are purpose-driven businesses.
Yeah.
That's not us yet. And I think it's in the earlier stages of the business, I've kept my eyes on making sure we can keep the lights on and make payroll. And I think as I have detached myself from the technical delivery of the work, so I've been able to focus on some of the really important stuff that an agency leader should do, like this. And so I think we have a historic cohort of clients that have been really kind to us and support us. And I know that you did the event up at the the yard.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go, but I heard the impact of Josh's talk on a whole load of people in the agency community. And I think for us,
it was a great talk.
And I think we've done an internal survey asking our team, how do you feel working on clients that are like carbon heavy or like charge high interest or advertise stuff to kids and that kind of thing. And we tried to build up a consensus of this is what the team would work on. And there isn't 100% affinity in that. I think the next steps of that is then to think about, we will use that as part of our qualification process. So the clients that are coming in are aligned to our ambition to where we want to be as a business.
Yeah. I
think
I really like that.
Out of our clients, there were 4 that we would consider, like being frank, so we're not perfect, right? So I'm not, there's that clean creatives thing where they're trying to get big agencies not to work with like heavy carbon polluters. And so we're not perfect, but we're not really, really bad either. We've got 2 clients that we, at the moment, what we're trying to do is to grow our billings, onboard new clients that fit with where we want to be, and then we'll end the working relationship with those. We've already let go of 2 because we just want to make sure that foundationally what we're doing is as strong and solid as possible.
Yeah.
Let's hope they're not listening.
Yes. If they open up the conversation, I need to have a bit of a backbone with that kind of thing. And I think then what happens is we're going to produce a survey of our existing clients where we try and develop conversations with them about the stuff that we're doing. So we know from 2019 to 2020, based on changes we made to our electric. So can you believe the electric we had in 2019? I just said to someone, go and sort out the electric for the office. And it wasn't renewable. I hadn't thought about it. We've now changed that. The impact of the pandemic on like commuting to the office. And then we always used to do a company trip. So we used to take the whole team away for Christmas parties. We'd done Paris, Rome, Malta, Oslo, and the carbon footprint of that. So without those 3 things in 2020 from 2019, our carbon emissions as an agency went down about 55%.
Wow.
We expect that to then rebound a little bit for last year, and we've got to model 2021's data. That's something that's on my list of things to do at some point. But I think it's those changes that we make can have quite a profound impact on what we do. I think as an agency community, how many agencies are in the UK?
Well, people report 25,000, but I feel like if you talk about independent agencies, my best guess is about, I think Pete and I spoke about this recently together. I think we came to the conclusion, we thought there were about 16,500. And there are a lot of creative freelancers, probably 250,000. There's a lot more smaller ones, and there's a good few larger businesses. My dog's going mad now. It's great. But yeah, I would say somewhere between 17 and 25,000 for the sake of your concept.
So if as a community, we all go through this kind of process where we start like forensically analysing our impact on the environment, that in itself is a massive potential upside. But then if we then start engaging with our clients about it as well, I think the impact of making these changes, there is a massive opportunity, because we need to do something. We can't carry on as business as usual. And so I think that's why what I'm trying to do is, rather than just say, oh, we're perfect and there's nothing that needs doing and we've always been perfect, because I think in agency owners always want to put the best foot forward and put a really good presentation of this is who we are, and there's a little bit of jazz hands and
Yeah.
the numbers kind of thing going on. I think what it will take is an honest evaluation of who we are and where we are, and then actual real action that has value. So I can talk very clearly about, this is all the stuff that we've done, this is the stuff we're working on this year, and then this is the stuff we can't do. And even the stuff we can't do anything about, I'm writing to every system supplier that we have, asking them what energy their systems are hosted on. And it's surprising how many get really quite defensive when they're asked about this kind of stuff. It's surprising how many are just waiting for Amazon Web Service to be carbon neutral in 2025. And the only one that's really doing anything really positive in that regard is Google, who already been renewable for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, I think there's some great advice in what you've just said there. You said a couple of times, we're not perfect, and I think that's that honesty and that kind of way of looking at things is right, because I can see you going on a journey with this stuff for a long time, and there's always going to be small improvements that you can make even when you've gone a long way down this path. So, I would say I really like the approach there. So sorry, go on, Alex.
Thank you. And I think with COP26 last year, there was some directive where like FTSE 100 companies are going to have to start reporting about their environmental stuff.
Yeah.
You can then see that filtering down. So you have to hand in your end of year tax return. You're going to then have to hand in your end of year impact return as well at some point in the future. So it's going to be there. But then in terms of, we did this survey where we interviewed 260 agency and in-house marketeers, and there is an increasingly there's increasing importance in terms of for procurement. Where, do you know much about carbon emissions?
I wouldn't profess to be an expert at all. I probably know very little, to be honest.
So I don't, and I'm very much a layperson, but I will regurgitate that which I've learned. And so you've got scope 1 emissions. So if we had a gas boiler in the building, that would be a scope 1 emission. We could change that to electric and deal with that. We've then got scope 2 emissions, which would be stuff like commuting to the office, the energy we provide, which is not done on site. And then you have scope 3, which is, so the stuff which I can't really change are the systems we use. So that's my scope 3. So stuff like Google ads, Facebook ads, we use Slack, we use Harvest, what the hosting is for those systems. And that's why I'm trying to engage with those providers to encourage them to try and do better in a nice way. I'm not sort of going in with a big stick saying, do better. And so scope 3 emissions, if you're a environmental accountant, if there is such a thing, you'll do your scope 1 and scope 2, which have control over. Scope 3 is that which you buy.
Yeah.
So as agency providers, if you are as on point with your emissions as possible in the procurement process, that's logically only going to increase as time goes on. So over coming years, that's going to be a massive opportunity for agencies as a point of differentiation, because if a client's got environmentally friendly agency over here and one that hasn't got their act together over here, it'll be this one that wins out based on that environmental accounting process.
Yeah, agreed. So one of the things you touched on as part of this process was speaking to your team about kind of where their, I suppose, boundaries or limits isn't the right kind of phrase, but the things that they would be willing to work on and wouldn't be work on. And you kind of used that, you said, as sort of part of your qualification process now for new business. Have you brought that into your recruitment policy at all around bringing people in? Do you kind of measure where they're at on a scale at all?
So we very much talk about it as part of our story now. And so what we're finding is that there is a greater sort of unity amongst the team based on what we're doing. In terms of recruitment, so we had, so myself and one of the team here had a conversation with a potential candidate on Wednesday. And I sort of sung my heart out about this is who we are, this is what we're doing. And I think there's a generation in the workforce now that they want a different approach to working. But what they know is they know that they're being handed a hospital pass from future generations like us. And so what they want to do is to try and work for a company that's actually trying to do something about it, so that they earn their money in 9 to 5, but they're actually working for a company that is having impact and doing good. And when I was talking through that stuff, this candidate was absolutely just beaming, because he's working at a place where that isn't on the table. And so there is a sort of attraction above and beyond just the, we've got a ping pong table, we've got free coffee, we give people free air and all that kind of stuff, we pay them. There is something above and beyond
All the
that.
top
That actually
benefits.
means something. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. Do you something else we were talking about earlier? Your people pulse results, is that something you wanted me to bring up and chat about today?
For sure. So when I first started building a team, what I did was the core requirement in my mind back in 2012 was, could I tolerate sitting next to you for 8 hours a day? And if that was a yes, then I sort of went. And what happened is that first team that I built, it was like a reflection of me. It's like really horrible. Just a lot of like young white men that liked football, and we all sort of bumped up against each other. And so what I've tried to do with recruitment is then build out a team where we don't have any sort of identifying features on CVs that get sent into us. And so we look at candidates based on their actual skills and qualifications to make sure there's no sort of subconscious bias and that kind of thing. With regards to the people pulse, I'm not if ever I do a psychometric test, do you remember that Windsor Davis character in It Ain't Half Up Mum?
Yeah.
We're
showing our age now, aren't we?
Oh, it's perfect.
I was only about 3 at the time, so
there'll be a lot of people Googling Windsor Davis, It Ain't Half Up Mum. And it's terrible. It's probably really like on PC, and it's probably like really politically incorrect. Anyway.
Was he the Sergeant Major guy?
Yeah. Always shouting. So there's a part of me which, left untamed, will sort of veer towards that sort of authoritarian sort of finger pointing, do this, do that kind of thing. And so I have had to do. So I guess I've had to temper that and try and be kinder, try and be more caring, try and be more nurturing, try and help people sort of move on. And that's been a conscious sort of thing. So that doesn't come naturally to me. The people pulse, what I find that does for me as an agency owner is it gives me, they've got a set list of 10 questions. Team here answer, and then we're benchmarked versus the cohort of the Alliance of Independent Agencies. And so what it allows me to see is what we're doing well and what we aren't doing well. And so in terms of what we aren't doing well, that's instantly stuff that I can do something about. So there was a thing about mental health, and it's almost like a net promoter score for mental health, if you will.
Yeah.
And so some of the team are like 7s and 8s. Some of the teams are like 5s and 6s. And when I think about how I want people to feel, 5 or 6 in terms of that sort of score it's not that great. And I don't think it's solely down to like climbing trees. I don't think it's solely down to my management style. I think there's environmental factors like COVID, the pandemic, working from the same house you're living in. If you're at early stages of your career, you probably haven't got that much space, that kind of stuff. People just weren't feeling that great, missing some holidays, getting out there into life and that kind of thing. And so I tried to, based on that, we then did, we've now got 3 mental health first aiders internally. And again, I work hard. I put in a shift, I put in hours, but I think that there is a balance in the early stages of your career where you need to get out into life and experience some of the, all the good stuff that's out there, but then also you need to sort of push on your career. And I think that balance has maybe in the pandemic gone a little bit the wrong way. And so as things open up, hopefully Plan B recedes, Omicron sort of moves away, everyone has a good summer and people start feeling better.
Yeah.
And so
I totally agree with that.
We've got 3 out of 12 of us that are mental health first aiders. looking out for people that need a little support and try and sort of surfacing issues and that kind of thing.
Yeah. How often are you surveying the team?
So that goes out quarterly.
Yeah. It's funny because we've had debates about this with our clients about, the frequency of it, and kind of because a lot of people use Office Vibe as well. So it's a kind of similar system to kind of get a score of where the team is at from a well-being perspective, are they being recognised enough, etc., etc. I think one of the things that people struggle with, general employers, is full participation of it. So how are you doing? How are you doing with the participation rate on it?
I think we're doing all right. And so what usually happens is I get the survey in, I share it with the team saying, please can you do this? And then I'll get a follow-up from someone at the Alliance that will say, we've had X out of your total number respond. And I'll pick up any sort of stragglers. And the whole thing's anonymized. So people can just answer the actual questions without like breaking into it.
Yeah. No, I really like that. Look, from my perspective, I just wanted to say, I'm just going to wrap things up now because I think we've had a great chat. I haven't been looking at the comments because I've been
chatting
to you
from the comments. Do you mind?
It sounds like Spencer's got one question from the comments.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Why climb? Why? Oh, I can't even speak. Why climbing trees?
So, in terms of the name,
why are you called climbing trees?
So, when I was out with my girlfriend bemoaning sort of what I was going to do in life, she said, "What you should go out and set up your own business." I said, if I did, I don't know what I'd call it. It'd be something daft like kicking dandelions or climbing trees. And so that is the origin of the name. So there's no esoteric meaning or anything like that. It's just what it is.
Brilliant.
Is kicking dandelions still free?
It is, although I was looking at.
That's brilliant. All right, look, thanks, Alex, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. I'm just looking at some of the comments now, and this very much reflects how I feel about the chat. Great honesty. Everyone's loving what you've got to say, and you've done a great job with the business over the, definitely more so over the last 2 years as you're kind of going on a different journey now. But your story is really inspiring, and that's reflected in what people are saying as well. So. Thank you so much.
Also, Pete, actually, it might be worth just a quick mention as well that Alex, one of the things that you were very clever at as well was you reached out to us and, proactively and, unprompted and said, listen, I think you can do much better with your, paid performance on YouTube. And we listened to you. And we, and you kindly helped us out with that. And it really has transformed our viewing ratings on YouTube. I mean, some of the videos that we have now, received over 10,000 views. And, that is down to all of the help that you and your team have done for us. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team for all that support as well. If anyone needs any help with paid YouTube media, go speak to Alex because his guys are amazing at it.
Thank you, Spencer. And there's a lot of love from us guys here for everything that you've given us as well, because it's a two-way street. And the conversations I've had with both of you have been transformational and giving us posture and helping us set a vision for where we're going in the future. So
thank you. I really appreciate you saying that.
Hopefully next time we speak, I'll have my voice back.
I know I've missed you, but I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. See you all next time.